You see, most people pray 5 times a day, some even more. They stand, bow, prostrate. They recite verses, whisper du'as. But the truth is, many of them don't feel anything. They're going through motions. Their body is there, but their heart is somewhere else. Some are thinking about work. Some are thinking about food. Some are thinking about their phones. But very few are thinking about Allah. Very few are standing in awe, in fear, in love. Very few are standing with the awareness that they are speaking directly to the King of all kings. That's the first and most common mistake in prayer. It's not that they're doing it wrong physically, it's that they've lost the meaning behind it. They've lost the soul of the prayer. And a prayer without soul is just exercise. It's easy to pray with your body, but praying with your heart, that's what separates the believer who prays out of obligation from the one who prays out of devotion. The one who understands that every single word has weight, that Allahu Akbar means God is greater, greater than your stress, your distractions, your pain. That when you say it, you're not just starting an act of worship, you're declaring war against the noise of this world. You're silencing the chaos and declaring, right now nothing is more important than Allah. But how many people say it like that? How many people feel it when they say it? The biggest problem isn't that we forget movements, it's that we forget presence. Think about it. When you're in front of someone important, a boss, a celebrity, someone you deeply respect, your heart races, your body is alert, you choose your words carefully. But in front of the one who created the heavens and the earth, we yawn, we rush, we drift off. That's not because prayer is boring, it's because our hearts are elsewhere, and a heart that's full of dunya will never be able to stand still in Salah. That's the painful truth. We pray but we don't prepare for it. We jump straight into it with the same mind that just scrolled through nonsense online. We don't slow down, we don't make wudu with care. We don't pause before the takbir. We don't give ourselves even a few seconds to remember who we're about to face. Imagine being invited to a royal palace. Would you just storm in without preparation? Would you walk in talking on the phone, laughing, distracted? Of course not. You'd fix your clothes. You'd adjust your posture. You'd feel nervous. So how do we treat the King of all kings with less preparation than we would a worldly king? And then we wonder why we feel empty, why we feel disconnected, why our du'as aren't being answered. It's not because Allah isn't listening, it's because we're not listening, because we've made Salah a task on a checklist instead of a gift from Allah, because we treat it like a burden when in reality it was meant to be our escape, our place of peace, our private meeting. That's the mindset shift we need. Prayer is not a chore, it's a lifeline. And when it becomes routine without heart, it loses its purpose. That's the start of the healing, fixing the mindset, shifting the intention. Before you even stand for prayer, you remind yourself, this isn't about just saying words. This is about connection. This is about realignment. This is about grounding yourself back to what matters. The first step is recognizing that prayer is a privilege, that out of the billions of people on this earth, Allah chose you to be among those who call on Him 5 times a day. That's not a small thing. That's a sign of His mercy upon you. Don't take it for granted. You want your prayer to matter? Then be present. Not perfect. Present. Let your heart be awake even if your tongue stumbles. Let your eyes tear up even if your Arabic is broken. Allah doesn't want perfection from you. He wants sincerity. He wants effort. The best prayer isn't the one that looks good, it's the one that's real. The one that comes from a heart that's desperate, humble, aware. A heart that says, Ya Allah, I'm here, I'm broken, I'm weak, but I'm yours. That's the kind of prayer that changes things, that brings down peace, that opens doors, that heals wounds. And when you start treating prayer like a conversation with your Creator, not a performance in front of people, something incredible happens. Your life starts to shift. Your problems don't feel as heavy. Your stress starts to melt. Your goals become clearer. Because your anchor is solid. Your heart is attached to the one who never fails, who never turns away, who never tires of hearing from you. But that starts with understanding what prayer is. It's not a ritual. It's a reminder of who you are and who He is. It's the daily meeting that realigns your soul with its purpose. So the next time you pray, don't just think about the actions, think about the presence. Before you say Allahu Akbar, take a breath. Remind yourself, I'm about to stand before Allah. Push the world aside, leave the stress behind, and just be there. Be real. That's the beginning of a prayer that transforms. A prayer that isn't just performed, it's lived. And that's how you stop praying wrong. Not just by correcting your actions, but by reviving your intention, by bringing your heart back into the prayer. That one shift can bring back the sweetness you lost. It can reignite the spark. Because when the heart returns, everything else falls into place. The body follows, the mind clears, and the soul finally feels at peace. There are mistakes in prayer that many of us make without even realizing. And it's not always the big obvious ones. Sometimes it's the small silent errors that eat away at the soul of your salah. The worst part, these mistakes become habits. And when something becomes a habit, it no longer hurts you, because you no longer notice it. That's how dangerous they are. So today we're not just talking about mistakes for the sake of pointing fingers. We're talking about them so you can catch yourself, correct yourself, and reconnect yourself with the purpose of prayer. Because fixing these 12 common mistakes might just save your spiritual life. The first mistake is rushing. You've seen it. Maybe you've done it. People praying so fast it looks like a race. The bowing and prostrating are lightning quick, and the words are mumbled without care. But what did the Prophet ﷺ say? The worst thief is the one who steals from his own prayer. You're not stealing from others. You're robbing yourself of peace, of blessings, of reward. Salah isn't meant to be rushed. It's meant to be savored. Every movement has a meaning. Every word is a message to your Lord. So slow down. Pray as if it's your last prayer. Because one day it will be. The second mistake is lack of focus. Your body is facing the Qibla, but your mind is everywhere else. Work, messages, stress. Your lips are moving but your heart is silent. That kind of prayer doesn't nourish the soul. That kind of prayer leaves you empty. How do you fix it? Bring yourself into the moment. Before you pray, pause. Take a breath. Say to yourself, I'm about to stand before Allah. Be conscious. That simple shift can bring presence back into your prayer. Mistake number 3 is showing off. You might not even notice it. Maybe you pray slower or better when people are watching. Maybe your voice becomes sweeter in congregation. That's not sincerity. That's performance. And prayer is not a performance. It's a private meeting between you and your Lord. Even if you're surrounded by 100 people, the intention must be pure. If you pray to impress people, don't expect it to impress the one who knows your heart. The fourth mistake is lack of preparation. You rush to make wudu. You don't make sure your clothes are clean. You don't check if you're facing the Qibla properly. It's careless. Imagine if you had an interview with the most important person in your life. Would you walk in without preparation? Never. Yet we walk into prayer without readiness, and that shows what we truly prioritize. Wudu is not just about physical cleansing. It's about preparing your soul, taking those extra moments to make wudu properly, to calm yourself, to face the Qibla with intention. That's where prayer truly begins. Mistake 5 is not understanding what you're saying. Reciting Arabic like a robot, without knowing the meanings, leads to detachment. You can't connect with what you don't comprehend. Imagine someone speaking to you in a language you don't understand. You'd lose interest fast. That's what's happening in Salah for many people. Learn the meanings. Start with Al-Fatiha. When you say guide us to the straight path, feel the desperation in your voice. When you say Maliki Yawmiddin, feel the power of standing before the Master of the Day of Judgment. Knowledge brings presence. Number 6 is repeating mistakes in tajweed or pronunciation without trying to correct them. Allah is merciful. Yes, but you must strive to improve. Don't stay stuck in mediocrity. Learn. Practice. Ask. Even 5 minutes a day to improve your recitation shows sincerity. And sincerity is all that matters. Mistake 7 is praying without proper dress or modesty. Your clothes might be technically covering you, but are they clean? Are they appropriate? Prayer is a sacred moment. Dress like you're meeting your Creator. Respect the moment. Show with your appearance that you honor the act. 8th mistake. Delaying prayer without valid reason. Too many people wait until the last minute, squeezing salah in between their worldly tasks. But that tells Allah, you can wait. Is that how you treat the Most High? No. Prioritize prayer. And watch how your time expands. Put Him first, and you'll find barakah in your schedule. Mistake 9 is skipping the sunnah prayers consistently. These are not just optional extras, they are shields. They protect and strengthen your obligatory salah. If your fard prayers are bricks, your sunnah are the cement. Don't neglect them. 10th mistake is leaving prayer altogether during hardship or sin. Some people feel too guilty to pray. They say I've sinned too much, but that's like saying I'm too sick to go to the hospital. Prayer is the cure. Don't let your sins push you away from Allah. Let them pull you toward Him in desperation. 11th mistake. Thinking that prayer is enough while ignoring character. What's the point of prayer if you lie, cheat, backbite and harm others? The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever does not leave evil speech and actions, Allah has no need for him leaving his food and drink in fasting. The same applies to prayer. Prayer must transform you, soften you, humble you. If it's not, you're doing something wrong. And the final mistake, thinking that you've arrived, thinking I pray, I'm good, I don't need to improve. That arrogance kills growth. The best believers were always afraid their prayers weren't accepted, not out of despair, but out of reverence. Stay humble, keep learning, keep growing. These 12 mistakes are not meant to discourage you, they're meant to wake you up, to remind you that your salah is the most intimate, powerful connection you have with your Creator. Don't let it become a ritual, don't let it become hollow. Treat it like the lifeline it is, because if you fix your prayer, everything else in your life starts falling into place. That's not magic. That's mercy. That's divine alignment. And it starts with awareness, with honesty, with the courage to say, I've been praying wrong, but from today I will change. And when you take that step, when you fix what's between you and Allah, you'll see how He fixes everything else. Your prayer is not just an isolated ritual that begins and ends with a set of movements and words. It's a mirror, a direct reflection of your inner world. How you approach your prayer, how much attention you give it, how deeply you feel it. All of it reflects your relationship with life, with discipline, with truth. You can tell a lot about a person by the way they pray, because the one who prays with focus usually lives with purpose, and the one who treats prayer as a burden usually treats life the same way, full of distraction, rushing from one moment to the next, never stopping to breathe, never grounding themselves. Salah, when performed correctly, is not just a form of worship, it is the spiritual compass of your life. You see, if your prayer is weak, rushed, inconsistent, it's a sign, not of failure, but of imbalance. It shows that something deeper within you is being neglected. Maybe your priorities have shifted. Maybe your heart is too attached to the dunya. Maybe you've allowed external chaos to invade your internal peace. And Salah, it picks up on that. It exposes that. It forces you to confront what you've been ignoring. Because prayer requires presence, and presence requires honesty. You can fake a smile for people. You can act confident for the world. But when you stand before Allah, there is no mask, no pretense. You are exactly who you are. Raw, exposed, real. The way you treat your prayer reflects the way you treat your connection with your Creator, and how you treat that connection ultimately defines how you experience life. If your prayer is filled with love, trust and sincerity, your life will mirror that energy. You'll start to approach your challenges with resilience. Your decisions will be grounded. Your emotions will be more stable. But if your prayer is neglected, mechanical, or absent altogether, your life starts to follow the same pattern. Things become chaotic. Emotions become overwhelming. Clarity fades. Why? Because the anchor that holds you steady, that daily moment of returning to your purpose, is gone. A person who honors their salah is a person who lives intentionally. That doesn't mean they don't struggle. That doesn't mean they're perfect. It means they have a center, a point they keep returning to, and that consistency becomes their source of peace, their reminder. No matter what the day brings, they know they will stand before Allah 5 times, to unload, to seek, to thank, to realign. That's not just worship, that's survival, that's soul care. Ask yourself, what does your prayer say about your life right now? If you're rushing through it, chances are you're rushing through other areas of your life too. If your mind is scattered in Salah, it's probably scattered during your day. If you neglect Salah, you may also be neglecting parts of yourself that desperately need attention. Your heart, your intentions, your dreams, your healing. The two are connected. You can't treat prayer like an afterthought and expect life to feel purposeful, just like you can't neglect your relationship with Allah and expect your other relationships to thrive. But the beauty is, when you fix your prayer, you begin fixing your life. You start to build a habit of stillness in a world full of noise. You start training your soul to pause, to reflect, to remember, and those moments of reflection seep into the rest of your life. You start thinking before you speak. You start being more aware of your actions. You begin living with more gratitude, because 5 times a day, you're thanking the one who gave you everything. It shifts you, slowly, silently but powerfully. A powerful prayer teaches you discipline. It teaches you patience. You get up when you're tired. You pray even when you don't feel like it. You hold your tongue because you know you'll be standing before the judge soon. This consistency trains you to be strong in life too. When others quit, you persist. When others break down, you bend, but you don't snap. Why? Because prayer builds resilience. It reminds you that you're not alone, that even when things fall apart, there's still a place you can go, a place where you don't need to explain yourself, because the one listening already knows. And that's the real power of prayer. It gives your life structure, not just in terms of time, but in terms of meaning. You stop drifting. You stop chasing things that don't matter. You start making decisions with clarity. Because prayer clears the fog, it puts everything in perspective. When you've stood in front of your Creator 5 times a day, the opinions of others don't shake you so easily. The weight of the world doesn't feel so heavy, because you've tasted something deeper, something eternal. That taste lingers. It stays with you even after the prayer ends. It becomes your shield, your light, your compass. And here's something else. When you fix your prayer, you notice something strange. Everything else in your life starts to get better. Not perfect, but clearer, more manageable, because Allah promised it. Indeed, prayer prevents immorality and wrongdoing. That's not just a slogan, it's a spiritual law. When you're sincere in your prayer, it starts cleaning the dirt off your soul. It starts melting your arrogance, softening your heart, sharpening your mind, and naturally you become a better version of yourself, not for people but for Allah. And when you become better for Him, everything else around you starts to reflect that light. So if your life feels messy, unclear, out of control, start with your prayer. Don't just focus on the outside chaos. Go inward. Look at how you've been standing before Allah. Is it with attention, with love, with desperation, or is it with boredom, distraction and haste? That mirror will show you the truth. It's not always easy to face, but it's necessary. Because when you fix what's between you and Allah, He promises to fix what's between you and everything else. Let your prayer become your mirror. Not to shame you but to awaken you. Let it show you what you've been avoiding. Let it lead you back to who you were always meant to be. Because prayer isn't just a duty, it's a transformation waiting to happen. 5 times a day. Every single day. You just have to show up with your heart open. And when you do, life begins to reflect that divine light, one prayer at a time. Attraction is a language beyond words. You can't always hear it, but you feel it. It's the way someone looks at you a little longer than necessary. It's in the tone of their voice when they say your name. It's the energy that lingers in the room after they've walked away. And in a world filled with superficial attention, fake smiles, and casual interest, it's becoming harder to recognize when someone is genuinely attracted to you. But if you pay attention, not just with your eyes, but with your intuition, the signs are always there, subtle, quiet, but real. The first undeniable sign is consistency, not the type that fades after a few days, or only appears when it's convenient, but the kind that stays steady over time. When someone is truly attracted to you,
They don't need to make grand gestures. They show up again and again, in small ways. They check in. They remember the little things you mentioned in passing. They follow up. They give you time. Not just when they're free, but because they want to make space for you in their life. That consistency is proof of sincerity, because real attraction isn't a temporary rush. It's a quiet commitment. Another sign is presence. When you speak, they actually listen. Their phone is down. Their eyes are on you, not out of obligation, but because they're fully there, interested, invested. In a world where most people are distracted, real presence is rare. But when someone is drawn to you at a soul level, they notice the details, they ask questions, they remember your stories, not because they have to, but because they genuinely care. That level of attention can't be faked. It's not just about hearing your words, it's about understanding the meaning behind them, feeling your energy, wanting to be part of your world, even in silence. And then there's respect, deep, consistent, intentional respect. Someone who is truly attracted to you respects your boundaries. They don't try to manipulate or rush things. They don't pressure you into emotional intimacy or physical closeness. They understand that true connection is built slowly, patiently. They value your time, your space, your values. This respect isn't just about politeness. It's about alignment. It's about recognizing that the bond they want to build with you must be built with honor. And when someone treats you with that kind of respect, it speaks louder than flowers or compliments ever could. But perhaps the most telling sign, the one that speaks to the heart, is energy. You feel safe around them, not just physically, but emotionally. There's a calmness, a warmth, a grounding presence they bring. You don't feel like you need to perform or pretend. You can be quiet, messy, unfiltered, and still feel seen, still feel enough. When someone is truly attracted to you, they don't just admire your surface, they're drawn to your energy, your light, the way your presence makes them feel. That energy is magnetic. It doesn't scream, it doesn't chase, it just connects. And don't mistake this for the fast, firework type attraction that disappears as quickly as it arrives. This isn't about chemistry alone, it's about alignment. It's about being seen, not just for what you look like or what you do, but for who you are when no one's watching. When someone is attracted to you in this way, their actions match their words. They don't confuse you. They don't leave you wondering where you stand. You feel clarity. You feel peace. Even when things aren't perfect, there's still a sense of trust that keeps the connection grounded. Real attraction, the kind that lasts, isn't loud. It's steady. It's respectful. It's deeply human. It's when someone makes space for you in their life without expecting you to shrink yourself to fit. It's when they see your flaws and don't flinch. When they admire your strengths but aren't intimidated. When they support your growth instead of competing with it. These signs, when they show up together, form something undeniable. Emotional safety. And once you've felt emotional safety, you'll never mistake shallow attention for love again. So often, people chase the wrong signs. They focus on charm, compliments, or physical touch. But those things can be deceptive. They can be short-lived, temporary. But consistency, presence, respect, safety, those are long-term. Those are real. And when someone gives you those things not because they want something from you, but because they genuinely value you, that's not just attraction. That's connection. That's alignment. That's something worth paying attention to. Now let's go deeper. Real attraction also means support. Quiet support. Not in flashy ways. Not with big speeches. But with quiet actions. The way they encourage you without making you feel pressured. The way they remind you of your worth when you've forgotten it. The way they show up when things aren't easy. Attraction that's worth keeping is the kind that stands with you through both light and darkness. Not just when you're glowing and confident, but when you're uncertain and tired. When you're questioning everything, and yet they're still there, still drawn to your soul. There's also growth. When someone is truly attracted to you, they want to grow with you. They're not afraid of hard conversations. They're not running from emotional depth. They want to evolve. Because they know that real love, real connection, requires it. It requires effort. reflection and patience, and they're willing to put in that effort, not because they have to, but because you matter to them. That's the difference. When someone is attracted to your soul, your presence inspires them to become better. Not out of pressure, but out of desire. And finally, look at your own self. When you're around them, do you feel more yourself? Do you feel safe, uplifted, grounded, or do you feel anxious, confused, unsure? Your emotional state in someone's presence is often the clearest sign. The right attraction brings peace, not tension. It inspires reflection, not obsession. It brings balance, not chaos. So if you've been wondering whether someone is truly drawn to you, stop overanalyzing their words, watch their actions, feel their energy, reflect on how they treat your boundaries, and most importantly pay attention to how they make you feel, not just when they're around, but even in their absence. Because true attraction doesn't fade when someone walks out of the room. It lingers, quietly, kindly, powerfully, and when it's real, you don't need to chase it. It stays.